She was arrested for a play called Sex. He served time after killing a man, then married the victim's widow, and one star's scandal made his career. These weren't just Hollywood's brightest, they were its boldest. So what happens when fame walks straight into a jail cell? Mae West never just flirted with controversy, she embraced it. In 1927, she wrote and starred in a Broadway play called Sex, a bold production that didn't just raise eyebrows, it triggered a full-blown police raid. West and her cast were arrested for corrupting the morals of youth, and she was sentenced to 10 days in a workhouse. But instead of shame, West saw opportunity. She wore silk lingerie under her prison uniform and turned the arrest into a press frenzy. Released after just 8 days for good behavior, she emerged more famous than ever. West didn't just survive the scandal, she built her brand on it. With her trademark wit and bold defiance, she became a symbol of female power and sexual independence. That one arrest didn't just boost ticket sales, it cemented her legacy as the original Hollywood rebel. And for West, that was only the beginning. Errol Flynn was Hollywood's golden rogue until his charm collided with scandal. In 1942, Flynn was accused of misconduct involving 2 underage girls, launching one of the most sensational trials in entertainment history. The headlines were relentless, dissecting every detail of his personal life while the courtroom became a stage. Flynn's defense argued he was being targeted for his fame, painting the charges as opportunistic attacks on a vulnerable star. In early 1943, he was acquitted, but the verdict didn't erase the damage. Though he returned to acting, Flynn was no longer seen as just the dashing hero of Robin Hood. The trial tainted his image, adding an edge of danger that never quite left. Ironically, it also deepened his allure. Fans now saw him as more than a swashbuckler. He was a real-life rebel, but what came next for Flynn would blur the lines between fiction and fallout even further. Rosco "Fatty" Arbuckle was once one of Hollywood's highest-paid comedians until one night shattered everything. In 1921, Arbuckle threw a party at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco. Days later, actress Virginia Rappe was dead, and Arbuckle was accused of a violent assault that shocked the nation. The press erupted. 3 separate trials followed, 2 ended in hung juries, but the third finally acquitted him, with the jury even issuing a formal apology. But the damage was irreversible. Arbuckle's films were banned and his reputation annihilated. Studios blacklisted him. Desperate to work again, he began directing under the alias William Goodrich, a ghost of his former fame. Although he attempted a brief return to acting in the 1930s, the scandal had left an indelible mark. He died at 46, just as he was about to sign a new film deal. For Arbuckle, acquittal came too late, but the media circus never let go. Paul Kelly had the looks of a matinee idol, but behind the charm was a man with a dark past. In 1927, he became entangled in a deadly love triangle involving actress Dorothy Mackay and her husband, vaudeville performer Ray Raymond. After a heated confrontation, Kelly struck Raymond during a brutal fight. Days later, Raymond was dead from a head injury, and Kelly was charged with manslaughter. He served 2 years in San Quentin, but Hollywood, ever forgiving to the fascinatingly flawed, welcomed him back. Remarkably, Kelly resumed his acting career, and in a twist stranger than fiction, married Mackay after his release. Despite the scandal, Kelly rebuilt his reputation, even winning a Tony Award later in life. His story became one of rare redemption, a killer turned leading man. In the eyes of Hollywood, it seemed that even a violent past could be polished into a dramatic comeback. And Kelly proved just how far charm could carry you. Robert Mitchum wasn't just a Hollywood rebel on screen, he lived it. In 1948, at the height of his rising stardom, Mitchum was busted at a Los Angeles party for marijuana possession. He was arrested, photographed behind bars, and sentenced to 60 days, partly served on a prison farm. For most actors, this would have been career suicide, but Mitchum's smirking mugshot became iconic, and the scandal only fed his tough guy mystique. Studio executives initially panicked, but soon realized audiences loved him even more. Mitchum didn't apologize. He leaned into it. His roles in film noir classics like Out of the Past suddenly carried a raw, real-life edge. Instead of derailing his path, the arrest made him a legend. He emerged with his bad boy status, not just intact, but upgraded. And in true Mitchum fashion, he kept moving forward like nothing ever happened. Because to him, getting arrested was just another role to play. Rory Calhoun. Before Rory Calhoun was riding horses on the big screen, he was running from the law in real life. By the age of 13, he'd already stolen a revolver. At 17, he crossed state lines in a stolen car, landing him 3 years in a federal prison. After his release, he drifted through odd jobs until a chance encounter in Hollywood changed everything. Reinvented as Rory Calhoun, he became a rugged star of westerns, hiding his criminal past behind a square jaw and cowboy hat. But in 1955, his agent leaked Calhoun's rap sheet to Confidential magazine to protect another client. The result? Not a scandal, but a boost. Audiences loved the real-life outlaw turned screen hero. His past didn't ruin him. It branded him. Calhoun leaned into it, becoming the ultimate Hollywood bad boy who'd actually lived the part. For Rory, crime wasn't a curse. It was a career asset waiting to be revealed. Leo Gordon looked like the kind of man you didn't want to cross. And that wasn't just acting. Before becoming one of Hollywood's most intimidating tough guys, Gordon was a real-life convict. In the early 1940s, after serving in the Army, he attempted to rob a bar at gunpoint in Southern California. Shot during the arrest, he was sentenced to 5 years in San Quentin. But prison didn't break him. It refined him. Gordon spent his sentence devouring books in the prison library, educating himself and discovering a passion for storytelling. After his release, he studied acting under the GI Bill and quickly found work in Hollywood. Directors were drawn to his commanding presence, casting him as the heavy in countless westerns and crime dramas. His criminal past gave him authenticity others couldn't fake. Gordon didn't run from his history. He used it to fuel a career that spanned decades and over 170 screen credits. Lawrence Tierney didn't just play violent men. He was one. Rising to fame in the 1940s with roles like John Dillinger, Tierney brought an unmistakable intensity to the screen, but off-screen, he was a walking powder keg. Between 1944 and 1951, Tierney was arrested at least a dozen times for bar brawls, public drunkenness, and assaults. In one infamous 1951 incident, he broke a college student's jaw during a drunken altercation, landing him a 90-day jail sentence. Studios grew wary. His violent outbursts made him a liability, and offers dried up. Yet Tierney's talent never fully faded. He made scattered returns to film and TV, with a memorable role as crime boss Joe Cabot in Reservoir Dogs. Even then, his behavior caused chaos. He was reportedly banned from the Seinfeld set after just one episode. Tierney's story wasn't redemption. It was raw, unfiltered chaos, proving that sometimes the role and the man are one and the same. David Carradine was no stranger to playing mysterious, misunderstood outsiders, but his real life often mirrored the chaos of his roles. In 1974, at the height of his fame from Kung Fu, Carradine was arrested after wandering naked through his Laurel Canyon neighborhood while under the influence of peyote. He was charged with attempted burglary and malicious mischief. Just a few years later, during a film shoot in South Africa, he was arrested again, this time for marijuana possession. Though he claimed it was a setup by apartheid authorities, the incident only added to his reputation for erratic behavior. Throughout the 1980s, Carradine racked up more arrests, mostly for DUI. Yet, like others before him, scandal didn't sink him. It became part of his mystique. In the early 2000s, he experienced a major comeback with Kill Bill, reintroducing him to a new generation. For Carradine, turmoil wasn't a detour, it was part of the legend. William S. Burroughs wasn't a typical Hollywood figure. He was a literary outlaw whose real-life scandal eclipsed even the wildest fiction. In 1951, while living in Mexico City, Burroughs and his common-law wife, Joan Vollmer, were drinking with friends when they attempted a drunken William Tell stunt. Burroughs aimed a pistol at a glass on her head and missed. Joan was killed instantly. Though arrested, Burroughs was released after a short detention and avoided a lengthy prison sentence. But the incident haunted him for the rest of his life. He later claimed the tragedy was the catalyst that pushed him to write seriously. What followed was a groundbreaking, controversial career. His novels, Naked Lunch, Junkie, and The Soft Machine, pushed the limits of censorship and reshaped American literature. Burroughs never escaped the shadow of that fatal night, but he channeled it into art, becoming one of the most provocative and influential voices of the Beat generation. From Mae West's clever use of scandal to Errol Flynn's public trial, these Golden Age stars proved that sometimes jail wasn't the end. It was just another chapter in their story. Their legacies remind us that fame can be as turbulent as it is glamorous. Who's next to fall?